You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I am your host, Steph, and this episode is going to be a bit of a therapy session, a little bit of a venting session, you might say, because there's been a lot that's happened this week in regards to the 49ers quarterback conversation, right? We got some quotes from John Lynch. We got some quotes from Kyle Shanahan. Albert Breer's in the conversation now. A lot of people are talking about this 49ers quarterback sitch, all right? And it's become a thing. It's now been a thing for, 4 years now? So at this point, we're all kind of used to it. But the latest, topics that we've been hearing, earlier this week, it was John Lynch's comments of, sorry, I didn't mean to share that right now. But John Lynch's comments of Brock Purdy being the leader of the clubhouse, right? First, I want to start off by saying I have no issue with Brock Purdy being the leader of the clubhouse. I think he absolutely earned that right. Just what he was able to do to end the season, in my eyes, even though that game against the Eagles ended up being a loss, I don't hold that one against him. So in my eyes, he was undefeated. So I get it from that standpoint. So no, I don't disagree with the fact that he's the leader of the clubhouse. I guess what I'm kind of a little more frustrated with is their handling of Trey Lance. And I've said it before, right? I don't really care who the starting quarterback is this season. I just want Trey Lance to at least get a fair shot. And it doesn't seem like he's gotten a fair shot with this team yet. Okay, last season, he was QB1. That was his fair shot, right? It seems like they gave him that opportunity. He ended up getting hurt by no fault of his own. And now something has shifted, right? And Kyle Shanahan said that nothing has changed with in regards to Trey Lance since last season. But I disagree. How can you say that when your actions don't show that it's the same as last season? If nothing had changed, he would be the starting quarterback unquestionably right now. But of course, we know Brock Purdy, leader of the clubhouse, all that. I get it. I get that. But how can we then put Trey Lance in a competition with Sam Darnold? I don't know how he goes from being the QB1 to competing with Sam Darnold for the QB2 spot. I get why Brock Purdy is the leader of the clubhouse. I don't get why Trey Lance is suddenly competing for second, third string with Sam Darnold. That, to me, that doesn't make sense. And they're going to be sharing first team reps together in camp. That's pretty much what Kyle Shanahan said. So I don't see that being the same as what happened last year at all. And so again, it seems like Trey Lance not really getting a fair shot. And for everyone joining today, I really want to know what you guys think. So make sure you comment. Hind here says, I'm okay with Purdy QB1. Same. But I don't understand why Kyle praises Sam Darnold, who has 55 starts, more than Trey, 4 starts. If you're just looking at the number of starts, you can understand why Darnold may be seen as a better option. But then again, we still don't know what Trey Lance is, right? I think that's the whole thing that is unsettling about this whole situation, is that the team is so okay with moving on from Trey Lance with little to no sample size at all as to who he is. And they don't seem to be in any mood to explore what he is anymore. And at this point, this is why I want to bring up the Rich Eisen clip, because Eisen had Albert Breer on his show, and let me make sure my volume is up so that you guys can hear this. I'll just play the clip because Albert Breer explained it, I think, as well as I've ever heard it explained. Here's what he said.
Here's the problem the Niners are facing. Like last year was the year that they were going to sort of sacrifice his development. Not sacrifice, but the feeling was at the beginning, in the summer, like Jimmy is still the better quarterback, but we believe with reps, Trey will be the better quarterback by the time we get to December and January, and we'll be rolling into the playoffs with him, right?
Yep.
And like now I think this is the point where that team is such a win now operation. You know what I mean? Like you look at the way they're set up, and now they have this other young option in Brock Purdy. They can't afford to throw another season overboard in the name of, a young quarterback's development, especially when they've got another good option on the roster. And so, I think what they want to see from Trey Lance is, like, it's up to you. You can make this difficult on us. Like, it's up to you. And we're not handing you anything this time around, and it sucks because that's not your fault. You got hurt. Like, I think they still love him as a person. You know what I mean? I think they still believe he could get there if they gave him like a full year to develop with reps and everything else.
I'll end it there. The clip was a little bit longer, but you guys get the gist. I mean, it makes sense the way he explained it. That the 49ers last season were willing to give Trey Lance that opportunity to develop him that season. And it just so happened that he ended up getting hurt. Now, a year later, they're not in the position to wait on his development. So, and now because they see what Brock Purdy is, now they're even less in a, they have less willingness, I think, to see what Trey Lance could be because, as Breer said, the 49ers are a win now operation. Was that not the case last year, though? Like, for the most part, like, I feel like the roster was the same. They had the same group of guys and veterans on this team. So I don't know, again, what shifted so much from last season to this one, where all of a sudden the 49ers are a win now team and don't have the patience to wait for Trey Lance. This just seems like an entirely miscalculated move on the 49ers part. One, to trade up for Trey Lance to begin with, because they knew he was going to be raw. They knew he was going to need the development. They knew he was going to need time, and they drafted him anyway. And now they're holding that against him and not giving him an opportunity to, have a fair shot at being the quarterback here. And like Breer said, Trey Lance has a chance now to make the decision difficult for this team. But at the same time, does it really feel like that? Does it really feel like the 49ers want to give him that shot? I mean, it's almost like they're like, if he makes it difficult, fine, but it's almost like they don't expect that to happen. Which, whatever. And I'm hearing Ian Rappaport mention Sam Darnold a hell of a lot lately. Like, Ian Rappaport has already anointed Sam Darnold the leader of QB2 competition. And that, I find that so strange. I'm like, is he just really good friends with Darnold's agent, or does he have some kind of disdain for Trey Lance? It's just so odd. So this is what Ian Rappaport said recently. This is from a KNBR article that I pulled, but I think he's probably said this on NFL Network. Here's what he said. We do not know what Trey Lance is going to be if he continues the trajectory that he's been on. And I think certainly it seems Sam Darnold will more likely than not be the starter going into the season. But there is an opportunity for someone to step in there and start the first couple of games of the regular season for the 49ers. And that was after the day before. Like, he had also mentioned that the 49ers brought in Sam Darnold in case Brock Purdy isn't ready by week 1. And so it's just weird. It's weird that we're hearing Sam Darnold be propped up like this when we haven't seen Sam Darnold in this 49ers system yet. Yeah, you can say that he might look better, but we don't know that yet. Again, it's March. It's March. So why are we like assuming or making assumptions about who's going to be the week 1 starter? We don't have anything to go off of yet. Sean Sullivan says the QBs get injured so regularly each year, it makes sense to keep quality QB 2 and 3. That I agree with. I mean, I get why they brought Sam Darnold in. What I don't understand is why they're in a competition with each other for QB 2. Why not give Trey Lance that opportunity? I mean, you let him start last season, so why is he not getting that opportunity this year? I don't know. The issue will be next year when SF has to decide on whether to pick up Trey's salary. Yeah. I mean, sounds like a team that's going to trade Lance eventually, right? And Matt Barrows had a mailbag for The Athletic not too long ago. I think he put it out this morning. And pretty much like he said, the 49ers probably, okay, I'm not quoting him directly, but he made it seem like the 49ers will eventually trade Trey Lance. He doesn't think it'll happen this season, though, for that reason that because they need to insulate the quarterback position, they've had this issue with quarterbacks getting hurt. They would like to keep Trey Lance on the roster this season. That makes sense. But yeah, it does seem like, and even Tim K said the same thing, that it seems like the 49ers are leaning towards eventually trading Trey Lance. That's what it sounds like. Hines says Kyle's too scared developing young players, like he is scared to go on 4th downs. Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like developing Trey Lance is a risk. It was a risk, because you don't know what he was going to be. And again, this roster is win now. Seeing what Brock Purdy was able to do, it's the safe option. It's safe. It was comfortable. You don't know if Brock Purdy, his success is going to be sustainable. Kind of the same scenario in when they after Jimmy Garoppolo's 5-7 games or whatever that he played before they extended him. It was kind of like, well, he's already on our roster. He looks great. Let's just anoint him as our franchise quarterback kind of thing. And it feels like they're doing the same with Brock Purdy. And I get it. Those games, 9 games that Brock Purdy played in, or I should say 8, because we didn't really see him in the NFC Championship, but those 8 games, they're pretty convincing, right? I get that. But yeah, it almost seems like they're going with the safe option, a known option, kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo. They know they can win with a guy like Brock Purdy. They don't know that with Trey Lance. And it's because he hasn't really gotten that opportunity to show it, right? So, yeah, they're going this.
Could you try
Oh,
again?
wow. My watch was listening to that whole thing. Creep. But East Coast Red and Gold podcast says whomever, we're getting fancy here, whomever gives us the best chance to win, that's who I want out there. I agree. I am 100% with that. Goes on to say, not sure why this is being made such an issue. All sports compete. Football is no different. The regime loves competition. I get it. I mean, I get the competition aspect, okay? I get that, like, you want competition at every position. And so, but I don't know. Something just doesn't feel right about Trey Lance having to compete with Sam Darnold. Like, I don't know. And I don't know what else they should say. Like, I get it. They're not just handing him anything this season. I get it. But I don't know. It just feels weird. It feels like Sam Darnold is like already the teacher's pet and already the favorite in between that competition. I just can't shake that feeling. And maybe I'm just looking too far into it. Alberto says they owe Trey this season to prove himself for not starting him his rookie year and had Jimmy start over him. Yeah, like that's tough, right? Do they owe Trey Lance anything? I mean, they had him as a QB1 to start last season. They started him over Jimmy Garoppolo, but he just got hurt. So do they still owe him? I think in their mind, they don't owe Trey Lance anymore. It was like, yeah, like we handed you the quarterback position, the QB1 position last season. You got hurt. It's not your fault, but it's not our fault either. So we're just not going to hand it to you this time because Brock Purdy is the leader in the clubhouse. I would at least like Trey Lance to start a few games before Brock Purdy is back, right? And I get it. He has to prove that he can do that because let's face it, Trey Lance is coming off an injury too. So I guess it makes sense. I guess you can like hear in everything I'm saying. I feel like I'm so conflicted in all of this. Like I'm making points for the 49ers. I'm making points against the 49ers. I don't know what side I'm on here. Like I said, I just want the 49ers to give Trey Lance a fair shot. I just wanted to feel like it's fair. And so that's the thing that I'm like, is it really fair right now? I don't know. East Coast Red and Gold. I don't know what you're referring to here. Who said that? What's going on, Sin? Thanks for joining. Hines says, I think they trade Lance post June, so they'll save some cap. I don't know. Like I said, Matt Barrows said that he thinks it's more likely they trade him next season for two reasons. One being because they've had so many issues with injuries at the quarterback position, and two, because they need him to raise his value a little bit. Right now, his value is not much. And we already know that the 49ers are not going to get back everything they gave up for Trey Lance. Never going to happen in a million years. But, yeah, I mean, those are the two reasons. So that's why I don't think they do trade him this season unless they got a ridiculous offer, which I don't know if any team is going to give a ridiculous offer for Trey Lance. And that's another reason why I kind of like Trey Lance to start the season, because if he looks pretty good and then the 49ers go back to Brock Purdy, but if he looks decent, I think other teams are going to be interested. So that could be good for next offseason, right? In hopes that they could get something more in return for him. But who knows? What's going on? 49ers throwback, no border sports. What's going on? Corey says, last time I checked, these coaches get paid to coach players up. Yeah, they do. And the 49ers have a great quarterback coach in Brian Griese. I think he did a phenomenal job with all the quarterbacks last season, minus Josh Johnson, but, we're not going to count that. Yeah, I mean, I think both Trey Lance and Sam Darnold are in a favorable spot being coached up by Brian Griese. They have an opportunity to, really learn a lot under him and minimize mistakes. I feel like that was the biggest thing that he helped Jimmy with, probably helped Purdy with as well. So both of those guys are going to get good coaching. So in that regard, it's like, I feel fine about that. I just hope, again, Trey Lance, hope he gets a fair shot. Bryant says, smash the like button, everyone. I agree. Smash the like button. This isn't a fun topic, but it gets the people going. You know what I mean? Like we're all joined here today, kind of trauma bonding now. Cause it's like 4 years that we're dealing with the same stuff. So, it's just this point, we know what to expect. We know how this goes. No Border Sports says best chance to win right now or overall. See, that's the thing. I feel like the 49ers, and that's what Albert Breer said, 49ers are a win now operation. They know that. They are not trying to develop Trey Lance in a win now team. So why did you draft him? Like, it makes no sense. But yeah, so in that regard, I get why they want to go with the safer option in Brock Purdy, who won a lot of games, who was undefeated as the starting quarterback, right? I get it. I get why he's the leader of the clubhouse. again, what I don't understand is why the 49ers traded up for Trey Lance. That's what I'm confused about. That's all. Jedi says more peeps in the house. Mojo says great title. And I was talking, I was on 49ers Camelot, Mark. I was on his podcast yesterday, and he asked me, like, is it too early to say that the Trey Lance pick was a failure or was a bust? And I say, yeah, it's way too early to say because we don't know what Trey Lance is. If the 49ers eventually trade Trey Lance, it's not because Trey Lance is a bust. I think it would reflect more poorly on the 49ers for making that pick than it would reflect badly on Trey Lance. It's very similar to the James Wiseman situation with the Warriors. Warriors, stacked team, win now roster, don't have the patience to develop him. And the Warriors traded James Wiseman. And you can ask the same question about the Warriors, like, why did you make that pick then if you knew the situation you were in? Like, you knew you were a win now roster. You knew this player was raw and was going to need the development. So, again, I think it would reflect more poorly on the 49ers. But at the end of the day, the 49ers are still a good team, right? Like, I don't think we can argue that because they made this pick that all of a sudden makes them a bad team. I mean, revisionist history, hindsight being 2020, you look back and you think about all those first picks that the 49ers could have had. They could have drafted Micah Parsons. I get that. That stings, just the thought of that. But the 49ers, at the end of the day, they're still a good team. So I don't think they're going to look back and feel too badly about it because at the end of the day, in their mind, they have a starting quarterback, and that guy is Brock Purdy. So if you had just switched Brock Purdy for Trey Lance, I mean, they would feel like that's a good deal right there. But yeah, why draft Trey Lance? That's the $1 million question. It's not crazy to ask that question. I really don't think the makeup of their team was that different when they drafted him versus today, right? Like, in my mind, they were a win now team then too. So, like, why make that investment on a development project if you weren't going to invest the time it was going to take to develop him, right? And like I said, I think they just found an easy way out, a safe way out in Brock Purdy because he was a quarterback who just happened to fall into their lap pretty much with the last pick of the draft, ended up being starting material, right? So he's able to give you what Jimmy Garoppolo gave you pretty much at a fraction of the cost, and even a fraction of the cost of Trey Lance. So, yeah, I think that's just what it is. It's just the fact that the opportunity just kind of fell on their lap. So I guess I can't. I get it. It's just weird. Hines says, wait, where's that comment? Kirk Cousins 2024, get ready. Oh boy. The Kirk Cousins dream is still alive, isn't it? That's never going away, I feel like. No Border says, let's say they thought they could do more with Trey than they could. So when you find out you can't, you just say, F that draft capital. You can't come up with a plan. I was thinking about this earlier. The 49ers, I don't think they have a plan ever at quarterback. No plans, just vibes. That's it. That's how they run their quarterback position. It's like, we have Kyle Shanahan. We have a stacked team. We don't really need to have a plan at quarterback because whoever we put back there, we're still going to be good. Like, that's kind of been their strategy for as long as this regime has been here. So I don't think they really have a set plan. And I think that's why they made the pick for Trey Lance, because they had no plan. They had no plan for him, I don't think. I think that becomes more evident by the day. It was funny. Kittle was on Bussin' with the Boys podcast, and this poor guy.
4 straight years of quarterback controversy, baby. Let's ride.
I know, bro.
And still
4 straight years of quarterback controversy. Let's ride. Man, I do you think the players are tired of this? I would be. I, as a content creator, am freaking tired of this, and the players have to field questions about the quarterback situation every offseason, and it never seems to get figured out. So I would be frustrated. So let's see. Yeah, no borders. That makes way more sense, Steph. Yeah, that they have no plan. Yeah, it seems like they don't. But look, let me talk one more topic, and let's dive a little deeper into the topic of the 49ers trading Trey Lance, because eventually I think it's going to happen. They have pretty much decided that Brock Purdy is going to be their QB1. And so when he's healthy, and I assume when he's healthy, he'll probably look more or less the same as he did last season. That's always the hope, right? That's another reason why I don't think they trade Trey right away, because they don't know. They have to know that Brock Purdy looks like the same quarterback before they decide they can trade Trey, right? That's another reason. So that's why another reason I think it won't happen this season. But yeah, so God, what was I saying? Yeah, I think they'll eventually trade Trey. That's what it feels like. If they do, it makes sense, I guess, to recoup some of those picks. And that's another reason why I just want him to, give him a fair shot this season. Be fucking sure that this is not your franchise quarterback. Be fucking sure that Trey Lance is not going to be your guy before moving on from him. Please, can you just do that at least? Ugh, it stressed me out. They stressed me out. No Border says Kittle helps fuel some of that with his comments and feels great baby t-shirts. 187 says Purdy dog. Ooh, with the Purdy profile pic? Okay. No Border Sports said, I'd rather send Trey home where people might appreciate him and give him the time he needs. Yeah. And again, I keep drawing the parallel between Lance and James Wiseman, right? Because ultimately the Warriors were like, yeah, we know we're not going to give him the opportunity. We know we're not patient enough to let this guy develop on this team to try to fit a square into a peg hole. Or is that how it goes? Small. Yeah, you guys know what I mean. And so that's why they ended up trading him, right? So I think right now it's looking the same for Trey Lance. Again, I'll reiterate, it is March. Anything can happen. Trey Lance can make the decision absolutely difficult for the 49ers. But as of right now, that's just what it looks like. But it's a fluid situation. Anything can happen. But as of right now, I'm done talking about the quarterback position. I told my brother, some of you have seen my brother on my podcast before. You guys have loved it, want him back. So I told my brother, I was like, did you tune in to the John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan comments? Have you seen the quotes? And he's like, no, I don't. He doesn't. He's not as passionate as I am, I guess. But he's just not into he's not on 49ers Twitter, so he doesn't get those news like that. So I was like, okay, I sent him the links and I was like, all right, do your homework. I want you on the podcast next week. Maybe I'll get you on next week. He was like, okay. So my brother will probably be on sometime next week. But for now, again, like I said, I'm done talking about it. And I'll see you guys next week. I'm sure there'll be more quotes to talk about then. All right. So have a good rest of your Thursday, people. Peace.